So I'm going to mix up the question order, and I'm going to start with really just to give us a foundation on how you guys are thinking about customer success and support and really just servicing your customers. Let's start with metrics just in general. What are some of the kind of the key indicators or key metrics that you all use at your companies? I know there's a lot, but what are some of the main ones you think about when it comes to servicing and taking care of customers? Damien, we'll start with you, and then Sonam, and then Ryan.
Yeah, so we obviously track all the standard stuff, right? Average open time, time to first response, how long it takes to actually, get that customer, through the system. But something that we've been actually investing heavily in lately is product usage data, right? And actually using that as a barometer for, how we compare customers to each other. And that helps us, find the expansions and the churn risk before, it actually comes about.
That's interesting. I'm going to come back to that later when we talk about getting data into other systems as well, but that's really interesting. Sonam, what about you at Gong?
Yeah, so our CSMs have a couple of core KPIs. So logo retention, what we call customer value engagement. So these are actually looking at, are they having calls with the execs at their accounts according to a certain cadence, anywhere from once a quarter to a couple times a month, depending on the segment that they're in. We have tons of adoption data. So we look at what we're calling our advanced capabilities. So parts of our product that we feel like are stickier, that correlate to higher propensity to upsell and grow with Gong. So we'll track percent of a CSM's book that actually adheres to those advanced capabilities and how they're driving adoption of those. As well as we just launched a CSQL process. So we want our CSMs to contribute to expansion. And so they're logging leads for sales reps to follow up on. So those are really kind of the core CSM KPIs. And then as a business, we look at our churn metrics, our downgrade metrics, our NPS. We look at time to first response for certain teams, like our support team, ticket friction, things like that.
And Gong also has Gong Insights where you can actually see all sorts of things. Do you guys measure that or use that as any sort of key measurement for your CSMs in terms of how often you're engaging with customers in email and in phone, Zoom, et cetera?
Yeah, so for our customer value engagement KPI, we actually look at our Gong data. So we track when was the last time anyone on the account team, but specifically the CSM, contacted a customer, looking specifically at exec persona engagement using our Gong data. And then we also look at calls. So what types of calls have they been having? Are these business reviews? Are these onboarding calls? We can look at the Gong data looking at the call titles, and then we also want to make sure that we're engaging with those personas on those calls as well as those emails.
Very nice. And Ryan, what about at Mixpanel?
Yeah, so at Mixpanel, maybe a bit of a unique setup. So customer success and support actually sit under product. And so all of us together actually share in gross retention, net retention, et cetera, for our customers. I think there's maybe this classical sales owns revenue thing that happens in many companies, but the reality is that your product, your service, the things that go alongside that are also a key driver towards those. And so we do really believe in those. And then within each team, right, there's kind of sub-metrics that how are those going to contribute to gross and net retention. And so on the CS side, we're looking at things like account health, which for us is kind of a ratio between adoption and spend, so matching price to value. And then on the support side, it's the more classical first response time to resolution, CSAT for both of those experiences, right? After a support ticket, after a customer success interaction, what does the customer actually say about that as well?
Cool, very nice. And I imagine having CS and support sitting under product helps with alignment.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.